Now that we finished the show, we actually ended up in slightly different places.
Not slightly. Very different places.
You're listening to The Juniper and Elle Show, where two friends chat dramas, movies, and whatever else we're checking out at the moment. Grab a tea or other beverage of choice and come hang out with us as we chat, laugh, and occasionally make sense. Hi, this is Juniper.
Hello, this is Elle.
Welcome to our pod. So it is end of March as we're recording today, and we have come back to specifically talk about our wrap-up thoughts after finishing two shows. One's probably going to take up more of the time today than the other. The two shows are the recently finished airing Chinese drama, Pursuit of Jade, and then the other one is the Korean drama on Netflix called Boyfriend on Demand. Okay, shall we get right into it with Pursuit of Jade?
Yeah.
So I think most people loved it. We loved it when we did our halfway impressions last time. And now that we finished the show, we actually ended up in slightly different places.
Not slightly. Very different places.
Very different places. So, yes, we've been texting each other vigorously back and forth ever since you finished. You finished like slightly after I did, and you gushed. You're like, I loved it. And I think that's probably like 99.99%. If you look at the internet, everyone's like, oh, I love this show. I'm like, okay, all right. So you can tell from the way I'm talking, I did not end up loving the show. I thought the show was really good. Visually, production-wise, everything was consistent to the end. Somewhere around the third, like 3/4 mark, so episode 30-ish, the sparkle left. I started to fall out of love with the protagonists, and that was kind of one of the reasons why it, didn't land on such a happy note for me as it did for you, Elle.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get there. Let's start with overall kind of what we thought of the show. I mean, we kind of already said what we thought of the show in our first half, right? And I don't think what we said then changes now that we've finished the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really loved the first half of the show. First 2/3 of the show. Then they left Lingan, the little town, and they went to military camp. I like that bit too. I thought it was hilarious, and it was very romantic.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went to the capital, and that's when everything fell to shits for me.
Well, you said they had personality changes.
Yeah, we'll get there. But let's talk about the positives, okay? Those are the positives, okay? I love the first 3/4 of the show. And then the last 10 episodes or so was like, let me, we'll get there. What about you? What did you love about this show other than everything? Like, can you put certain descriptors around what you really liked? Like, what drove the, oh my God, I love the show?
I mean, so I would say that as the show kept going, I think the way I love it is that I love the whole overall production, right? I loved the visuals. I love the music. I love the symbolism. There's a lot of very artistic shots that if you talk about just the main couple who I know you're a little disillusioned by them, but if you watch it from like the angle of this is really just a romance set in a crazy setup, the romantic aspects are very consistent, done very, I think, artfully. There's a lot of fun little Easter eggs, I think, tossed into it visually. I mean, I've watched a few interviews with the director, which is surprising. Usually, directors of C-dramas don't come out and get interviewed, but because the show has been so popular, he's been interviewed, and I learned a little bit more about like things that he put in there that he if you know about it, it's great. If you didn't catch it, it's also fine. So it's fun for viewers. So I think for me watching it, not having seen a production done in such a way where you're like, oh, there's like a sort of love built into the production, I really appreciated that. And I like that they went all the way through to the end. Like it wasn't just done in the first 10-20 episodes as a hook and then like, oh, here's a predictable way to do it, or they didn't care about the visual shots anymore. I think if you as a visual person, as someone who likes visuals, for me, it was very nicely done. For the couple, I really like them, even though I know you don't like them. I think that their devotion to each other, as a romance, again, to me, was very palpable. And I like that they were always supportive of one another. And actually, they don't really get together till the last section of it. A lot of times they were actually far apart from each other, doing their own thing. And I think once they got together, I think that's where things probably start to turn toxic a little bit, where they're they're bringing out, I think in your opinion, the worst out of each other. But I think before that, I did enjoy the push and pull of the relationship, and that to me was the strong hook for continuing to the end. I think the other things that I really enjoyed, and we talked about it, were the other characters. They were sometimes more complex than the main leads. And whether they were good people or villains, they were still interesting to watch. And overall, for me, from beginning to end, it was a fun ride. It was for me unforgettable, in the sense like I think it'll be hard for me to find another drama at least this year that has this amount of artistry and storytelling that I would enjoy for this long, because it is a 40 episodes, which is very long for an average Chinese drama these days.
Yeah. Okay. So is that kind of the core thesis you're going with?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let me let the floodgates open now.
Mm.
So my biggest gripe at the end was that I could no longer support the protagonist. And I've, even in our last pod, I said they were not the main reasons I kept watching the show. I recognized they were sweet, pretty to look at, and nice CP, at least up to where we were. And I could root for them because it was, a tropey romance by someone. I was like, well, she's sweet, she's spunky, she's really cool, and very kind, right?
Yep.
And you knew he was supposed to be this warlord, somewhat, ruthless, but I never thought he would be like morally questionable. By the end, I was like, wow, I don't think I like him as a person necessarily. He's showing his real true colors by the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said this, right? You said, oh, maybe they bring out the worst in each other.
Yeah.
Because there's this whole like blind, like support for each other, like we're in it together and everything. That's what I felt like. Like they became lesser versions of themselves. For some reason or other, maybe the show didn't try to do it, but I felt bamboozled. Okay?
Mm.
I was like, they were not the most interesting people. They were not like, I like other characters who are not good people because they were complex or morally gray or fun and evil and or sometimes evil, sometimes kind, right? Like you're like, these are interesting characters. But I didn't like those other characters because of their goodness. The reason I supported the main CP up to a point was their goodness that the show supposedly told me they were. And then the last 10 episodes, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. She's like a cocky bitch, right? Suddenly, very like throwing her weight around and like she was always like a bull in the china shop a little bit because she's not very educated. I get that, right? And I said in the first half, I said, he helped rein her in a little bit by educating her and telling her what's what. So I thought maybe that was the way it was going to go. But no, she continued to be a bull in the china shop, except now they've given the bull more power.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what you're saying, and if I think back to the beginning, or just sort of like consistency. I know you said you felt like they had a personality change. I actually said that I don't think their personalities ever change. I think their circumstances changed and their environment changed. And like most wives are not gonna go to the battlefield looking for their spouse, but that's who she is. And I think she doesn't do things by rhyme or reason sometimes. She is very hot-headed, impulsive, and she's like, I need to do this, and she would just do it. She's sort of a woman of action. So I didn't think that it was a huge discrepancy in her behavior later on, but I do think that because she has now attained power and status, it's more noticeable in that she doesn't know how to use it responsibly.
That's dangerous.
It is dangerous. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that she's not actually that different. It's just that she didn't have the resources. But now she has resources. So now you're judging her from the angle of like she needs to like know that she can't do that anymore, or that she needs to rein herself in somehow, because it's not, you can't just do whatever you want anymore. Like you actually have people you need to respect or rules that you need to abide by.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be a woman of action, it's another thing to be kind of success get to your head and throw your weight around, even if you think it's for a good reason, which is vengeance, right? Justice for your parents.
Yeah.
But they were so blindly self-righteous, and she's not even the biggest issue, though. I was very sad to see her, what I call the personality transplant. Okay, the sweet girl, the kind girl, strong and maybe a little bit violent, but she was never in my mind a mean girl. Okay. But
Yeah.
at the end, I was like, oh, she's starting to become that mean girl, and I don't like it. But he was the bigger problem for me, okay? So he was always supposed to be this warlord, but then I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, he was so. No, I'm sure everyone's like, oh my God, he did what he had to do to win. I get it. It's like a dog kill dog, dog eat dog world. But I thought maybe this dog was a more, pedigreed dog than the other dogs. But no, he's actually the worst one in some ways. He was actually very cruel. And my biggest gripe was when he started like with cutting off the eunuch's ear. Did I like the eunuch? No. I mean, he's like a little peon, right? Like he's a dog to the emperor, but he was just doing his eunuch job.
Yeah, he was just the messenger.
Right, he was just the messenger. He took it out on the messenger. I was like, why? To send a message? He wasn't in a battle against this eunuch. Like, that was overkill. That was unnecessary bully tactic, okay? And then, of course, I don't think it's a big spoiler to say he then killed the eunuch almost in cold blood. Now, again, I'm sure many people would jump to his defense and said, well, he deserved it for setting him up, right? To entrap the Marquis. But I'm like, but ho. If we're going to go that argument, right? Who instigated the emperor to set him up? The Marquis did. He flouted the authority. He openly said, I'm going to rebel, replace the emperor. Even if it's an ineffectual, useless coward of an emperor, you don't do that to your boss, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you blame your boss then to be like, oh, I need to neutralize this problem child?
Right.
So does that make sense? Like, he had already gotten out of the entrapment situation. He's like, let me kill the eunuch. And the poor eunuch was like, oh, I see. I'm supposed to bear the blame for this whole thing. He took it in stride. He's like, okay, I'll take the blame. And then the guy just whips out their sword and kills him. And then they, of course, the story had the good taste to have the big sex scene come right after that. I was like, I don't really want to see a sex scene. I don't care how hot it is. I no longer like these people who just killed the poor peon in cold blood and without batting an eye. A life is a life, okay? And you are not in the war situation where they had their knives out to kill you in that heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Right? And you have the gall to go and make out.
Well, he was drugged. Remember?
Yeah. Well, I said he should have at least. He deserved blue balls, is what I said.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't know if this was in the novel. I don't know if this is how it was done in the novel. I don't think the sex scene was necessary, but I think it was something that I guess fans were waiting for. I don't know. Like I didn't really care that much about that. I think the overall tone for me has always been that the main CP, they're both, I mean, less so her, but for him, he was a traumatized child. He had they established that very early on. I mean, all the men in this have like traumatic childhoods because they were all sort of victims of their parents in some ways. And so if you're watching it from the perspective like, oh, is he gonna get his justice? Is he gonna be able to have the revenge? I mean, then you're watching it for that. Is it tasteful all the time? Probably not. And I never thought of the Marquis as a kind person at all. I mean, they had established right away in the beginning that he is not a kind person on the battlefield. And the only reason he's
on the battlefield, I can qualify that with okay. They never said he was a cruel person off the battlefield.
I think, yeah, and I said this to you offline. I felt that that scene to me was retaliation through and through, and the fact that he has a particular disdain towards the emperor because the emperor is a puppet emperor, and he's inept, and he's not making the right decisions for the people, the same people that he and his men have to sacrifice every time they head to the borders to protect. So I think it's not personal, meaning like personal, like you did something to me. It's so much more like you have the power to do things and you're not doing it and you don't know how to rule and yet you're sitting in that spot. So it's like very multi-layered for me. I'm not saying he's not right, but I think that it's just like there's no way around it. And he has to sort of stay the marquee. I mean, he can't risk losing the power either because he could just as easily be wiped out. So it's just a bunch of alpha males trying to beat other alpha males, and there's no clean way out of this.
But he went out of his way to make a point by killing a person in cold blood.
Yeah.
So, anyways, enough about the Marquis. So you understand, right, where I'm coming from was like, I find these people now unsavory. As unsavory as everyone else, except I understood everyone else is unsavory just consistently, whereas these people were not supposed to be the unsavory ones, okay? So it was a huge letdown, and it soured my enjoyment of the rest of the story, even though I recognized that the tale was still interesting, like the whole mystery. And although the last like wrap up, the whole, what did I say, the whole coup, everyone, like the 3-way coup or 4-way coup, I forget how many parties. It was like, show up at the palace with your 20 best friends and let's have a coup party. Like, let's have hot pot while we're at it. Dudes, what is happening?
Yeah, it was like something that ran out of budget and they couldn't hire enough extras to like show off the army that was gonna come in and either defend or take over the throne.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But okay, so let's talk about them. I did go in length about why I lost the Marquis and the girl lost luster for me. Even though I think at the end they tried to kind of recoup some of the initial halo by going back to the town Lingan, which also was kind of a random like 180. Okay, I was like, why?
And when I saw the dead people, I got so emotional.
You got emotional, but you also had question marks, right? You're like, why?
Yeah, I was like, okay, so one thing I will say, as much as I liked the sort of cinematic visuals that the director attempted, and he did a lot of that, and I liked it. There were also times where I felt like I don't know why he did it, in the sense of there's some scenes where people were confused if it actually happened versus like, is it in someone's imagination? And I think it's an attempt at artistry, but it can also confuse people. Like the whole scene of them returning, it's a fantasy, right? I mean, when you go back to that town, it's not the same people. All the people that mattered to her had either left or had died. And it did make sense that they were going to be helping the new emperor who's a child. They were going to help him, but I'm like, how are you going to help him if you leave the capital?
One minute it was like the empire was going to be stable and safe with the guiding hand of, the Marquis and the general, right? And the next minute, we're never leaving Legon. Don't worry, we're never leaving the town. I'm like, wait, so how are they going to stabilize the empire?
Yeah, how are they going to guide the new emperor? And then, like the whole chiming the little girl, like the little boy's like, oh, will you be my empress? And I was like, was this in the book? Like, I don't know. I was like, yeah, I mean, I think there are some things where like, is this going overboard? Like you're trying to really paint like a very, very happy ending. I'm not going to complain about happy endings, but yes, it was a little bit over the top. Even though I was still sad and happy to see them back in town. It didn't make sense.
For me, it was a sad ending in some ways because I didn't actually want the uncle to die. He died. It was like unnecessary in my book. And then the what's his name? Lee, the real snake, didn't actually get serious punishment. And honestly, I would have been okay if our protagonist died because that's the way the story works, right? Like the world they're in, it would have been fair if they died, but no, they survived and they were unworthy by the end. So I'm like, why didn't they die? Oh, remind me to say the whole theory I had about how I think eventually they would have died. Because the way the story is told and how everything happens, if you really think about it, it's inevitable. It will happen.
That they would die.
Yes, but let's not go there yet. Let's come back to this, okay?
Oh,
so let's talk about.
Okay.
Okay, fine. I'll go there first, and then we can talk about lighter stuff like favorite characters, least favorite characters, and other stuff.
Yeah.
Then, Okay. So here's my theory. To me, the Marquis is in the same position as his uncle. Right? Except he's less smart. He's actually more unthinking.
Yeah.
Okay. His uncle is not an emotional man, other than when it came to the girl he loved, right? And that's what got him in trouble. The old emperor was the original villain that set in motion the tragedy for everyone by scheming, right? To undermine everyone else and set them up for the downfall. But if you think about this, the Marquis is going to be in the same position, power balance or imbalance wise, with the young kid who's going to grow up one day. And it's a set pattern in this in real world imperial history as well as in the storyverse imperial history, where haven't you noticed there's a pattern with that family of wanting to kill your own sons because they're a threat and wanting to neutralize your powerful allies because they're a threat?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't think that's going to repeat? In fact, the show goes out of its way at the end for the little baby Bauer to say, "Oh, I would never kill the Marquis and Fan Changyu because I'm not like that." Well, if they felt the need to say that, okay, don't you think it's pretty obvious that that's a likelihood? Because it's a very common pattern. You study history and even the history, okay, of the imperial family in this storyverse. So I think it's going to happen. Very high likelihood. And the other reason I say this is there's an alternate ending. Alternate universe, not alternate ending, right? Where they do a what if. What if none of the 17-year ago tragedy happened, right? What if the old emperor didn't happen? Didn't set in motion that whole slew of events that basically destroy so many lives. Well, we saw what happened. We saw that his uncle and the Marquis are on good terms, but his uncle is still the wise older statesman who's advising the Marquis. And what does the uncle tell the Marquis? He says the current emperor is suspicious and wary of his own son Qiming, right?
Yep.
But the current emperor, if you think about this, was the crown prince that the old emperor in the main story verse annihilated.
Yes.
And that was a benign crown prince at the time, 17 years ago. He is no longer the benign emperor, now that he's in power.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what did the uncle also say? He's like, don't go asking for reinforcements and more power because he's not going to give it to you. He'll only see it as you being more of a threat. Why would he give you more power? Whether it's from good intentions on your end or not, he's only going to see it as a threat. So do you not see? It's unavoidable.
Yeah. The calamity is there.
Yeah. It's because it's power dynamics.
Yeah.
Hence, my theory is ultimately the same tragedy would have happened anyways. Except the Marquis not like savvy enough as his uncle. I mean, for God's sakes, the whole revenge thing was like him and his girl marching in like blindly going, we know who our enemy is. It's my uncle. We must annihilate him. No questions asked, okay? They were like, we must know this, what happened 17 years ago, but not really. We'll just kill him first and ask questions later.
Well, I was saying too that I felt like the relationship between the uncle and the Marquis, like, it's weird because, and then they later reveal that his son, in the novel, they don't show it here. In the novel, it's shown that the uncle's son bullied the Marquis as kids. Like, he was really cruel, like boots to the face on the ground, kind of like physical altercations. So he grows up being really sort of resentful against the uncle, against the cousin. They don't show any of that in the drama.
They show him being bullied as a kid.
Did they? Like,
there
to
was
that,
a
I don't remember.
Flashback at the early
I see.
part.
Okay. But maybe it was more pronounced in the novel. I remembered it better. But in the drama, it's revealed that the son's not even the uncle's biological son. It's just like he married the wife. His wife was pregnant from her husband, but the husband died in battle. Anyways, so the son grew up thinking he was his biological son, but the nephew is technically his closest blood relative. And it's kind of interesting, like, if you talk about what ifs, right? The what if scenario is also if even if the Jinzhou thing tragedy happened, right? Had the uncle raised the Marquis in a way where he's like, you know what, this is a secret I was gonna take to the grave, but I need you to know so you understand where I'm coming from. So when we're doing whatever we're doing, like, you understand the reason. I think that, I mean, that could also have changed a lot. But because the Marquis grew up like angry, right? He just knew that his dad died because the uncle did something, and then his mother died because she was saying this is the only way I can protect my son. And she was also probably heartbroken that her brother had something to do with it, even though that wasn't true, but people thought that. I think it's like every little thing is a sort of not even it's just cause and effect, and there's no way around it. But like, yeah, there would never have an open communication anyways because the uncle had chosen not to speak, so the Marquis was never going to know the truth, and he had long decided I'm not, my uncle won't, even if he told him the truth, he probably wouldn't believe it anyway. So
Right. So what's your point?
no, my point is like, had the uncle decided to like not raise a son that wasn't his and said, this is my son, and like if he wasn't so secretive about everything, if he was just honest and transparent, at least within the family. I mean, you could argue the Lee guy was terrible, but the Lee guy was also more forthcoming to his grandson about his plans and why and his motivations. I actually thought like he might like the Lee guy didn't agree with his grandfather, but he knew why, and they were at least honest reasons. Whereas the uncle and the Marquis never had that kind of candidness between them.
No, because the uncle had to take his secret to his grave. Remember, for the stability of the nation and for the reputation of his lady love. That's what he, at least in the drama, that's what he was trying to preserve.
Yeah. I mean, he says stability, but it's not really that stable if everyone's trying to like overthrow the emperor. Right.
But the reality is, right, if everyone found out that the emperor was the villain against his own countrymen, that would have been no rest, right? Everyone would have jumped out and said, okay, this imperial family is done.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so other characters. That was my theory, okay? Now you get it. Let's talk about fun things, like people we really loved. I mean, I guess you can start with the CP because you really loved them.
I love the CP.
Look at you giggle. You're like, oh, I love the CP.
Flaws and all. I thought they were cute. Actually, I was thinking about like, could other actors have played them in a way that I would have loved them? And I don't think so. I think that the actors cast for these two characters worked for me. I actually liked Gongsun and the princess, the strategist and the princess. I felt like they were a cute couple. They were like the purest couple in the whole drama.
I agree. They're the normies. They
were normal in every sense of the word. In modern construct, they're normal. They were the sweetest, and I really liked them, and I was happy. It was sort of implied they might have been able to put together. I liked the old tutor Tao, the tutor, the grand tutor. He was lovable. He's the ultimate statesman, right? He understands things from a strategy perspective, but he's not the one wielding power. But he's more like the wise old man.
He's not a statesman. He's just wise. If he's a statesman, he'd be like the uncle wielding power.
He's just wise, and he's there to guide them ideally, but not, but according to you, why did he take in the CP?
The two dumbest oafs on the planet is what I said. I said, wow, they're really dumb students. And he didn't teach them anything useful.
They picked and chose his words. Like, this works.
Like what did he see in them? Exactly.
Well, I did say, like, the Marquis, he's not the brilliant mind that people think he is. He has a strategist for a reason, right? So, yeah, I think those are the ones that stood out to me that I really liked. How about you? I mean, I liked I don't love the deranged prince, the younger one. I think he redeemed himself at the end. He was sort of the catalyst of a lot of the rampage and all of that, but at the very end, he redeemed himself. Where you're like, oh, he's been used, he's been gaslit, like. So I think his character was redeemed, but it was a small character.
Yes, but he had a lot of screen presence. I mean, I said I liked him a lot, even in the first impressions video, podcast we did. He remains to the end, even though he exited stage left pretty early on. Not early, but like around episode, was it 33, 34? Well, he's really hard to kill, so I guess I gotta give it to the kid, right? No one can kill him.
But himself.
Yes, he had to kill himself. That takes That takes
That takes
a lot of willpower
cojones.
and just, yes, cojones. Cut off his own head. And people are like, I don't think that's doable. Is it doable? But anyways, so I was surprised so I wasn't surprised that I liked him to the end, okay? I really liked his character. He's crazy, bloodlust, whatever. He's not a good guy, but he's a fun guy.
Yeah.
Okay, very charismatic. And I understood him. Like, I understood what what's his morality. You may not agree with everything he does because, you're a good person, right? But I understood what he's consistent in my view. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He kills for certain reasons that you'll understand as he does more and more of it, but he also doesn't kill when he chooses not to for certain reasons. And they're very, clear. So he's consistent in that way, okay? He has his own code and he follows it. I also felt really sad for him at the end because you realize he's just this little boy, actually, still. And he, like you said, he's been gaslit his whole life by his father, who molded him into a copy of the Marquis as competition, right?
Yep.
By his so-called brother who used him, whom he loved, right? And who used him.
Yeah.
Nobody loved him, really. Everyone just used him. But he actually loved everyone else.
He loved his whole family. He's like, yeah, I know. That was pretty sad at the end.
He even loved, what's her name, Fan Changyu.
I don't know if he loved her, but he was dazzled by her.
He liked her, okay?
Yeah,
and he was honorable even in his death. Like, he didn't gaslight. He could have gaslit the girl who liked him, right? And said, oh, you must get revenge for me because these people did this to me. No.
Yeah.
He was very transparent. Like, this is what happened. I'm not going to lie to you. I never loved you. But now go take my head and this. And it'll buy you, safe passage, basically.
Yeah.
Most girls, want a guy to give them their heart. No, this one gives you his head. On a platter. No, not on a platter. But anyways.
It was a noble move. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was noble to the end. He was gonna kill his brother. Like, the Marquis used him to go kill his brother, really, right? If you think about it.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it. He couldn't go through it. He had a soft spot for his brother, and then that was his downfall. Not that his brother, killed him thoroughly. It was 70% killed him. The other character that I ended up really liking, which I was surprised by, was the uncle, right?
Yes.
Because he really doesn't reveal himself until the very end. And you always think the whole show he's the villain, right? Just like the Marquis. But very quickly, as he had more exposure, you're like, no, there's more to it than that. Which I don't understand why the Marquis couldn't see. But, whatever. He's blinded by hatred, like you said.
Yeah.
And then, and at the end, I was really sad to see him die. I was like, wait, they couldn't do anything to salvage the situation?
I was like, couldn't the new emperor, the boy emperor, pardon him? I mean, they could have, but the Marquis did not speak up for him. And I don't know, it was really weird. I was like, did he really have to die? I mean, they could have just exiled him or something, but...
The Marquis kept saying it's the law. The law wills it, right?
Oh.
And my interpretation is it's because while the lead guy was no good, he always supported the official lineage, whereas the uncle technically originally was framed for plotting the defeat, right, 17 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But when the truth came out, I think it was also that he had enacted a whole coup and eradicated the old emperor,
because he forced the emperor to abdicate. Yeah.
So that is rebellion. But if you think about this, didn't the Marquis himself foment rebellion verbally and basically by physical act? I'm like, so wait, doesn't...
Yeah, but he didn't actually do it. That's the problem. That's the difference. He didn't actually have a plan to actually take down the emperor. He was just a hot-headed, angry person. But
that those words he said alone could have gotten your whole family killed, right?
Yeah, 9 generations.
Yes, 9 generations. Like I said, the uncle went to a lot of trouble to make sure our protagonists were born and grew up. He didn't know. I don't think he did it on purpose, but if he had not basically did what he did 17 years ago and did the cover-up and killed, forced the old emperor off the throne and enacted a bloodbath coup, his his clan, the male, so the Wei clan, the Xie clan, and everyone who was associated with them would have been killed.
Yeah. Yep. No, I
Right?
know.
So
I
there
know.
would be
Yep.
no story. They'd
There
be
would be no
dead.
story.
Unborn tadpoles.
That's a third alternate ending. The other alternate ending. Nobody was born.
No one was born. They're just like swimming tadpoles. So, anyways, what about least favorite characters?
Oh, by far the Chiming,
Yes,
the real deranged prince who
yes,
had like no like there's no way you could excuse any of his insane actions, thoughts, obsessiveness. Oh, you told me this thing. I know I'm going off the rail. You Chen, the girl that he's like obsessed with, right? The business
yeah,
proprietor. You were saying like she's supposed to be a trans migrator, and they hinted
yeah.
at that. But at no point in this drama did I pick up, other than the fact that she taught them CPR. I was like, oh, that's weird. But other than the CPR, did she do other things?
No, she said at the end, at the jail, after she gave Qiming the poisoned like soup, and she told Fan Changyu, who was waiting for her outside, she's like, I'm from a place far, far, far away, and I don't think I'm ever gonna get back. And I think in the book, she even said it'll take me like a long, like thousands of years to walk back. Which I was like, why? It's so
Yeah.
unnecessary. Like,
Why? Why? Did nothing for other than the fact that she was able to save Jimin? Like, oh, that's a fourth alternate, you know? Like, if she hadn't saved his ass, we wouldn't have this deranged, like,
exactly.
psycho.
So it's really her fault.
It's, yeah, it's her fault. She said that to him many times. I should have just let you drown. I don't know why I saved you.
So this is where I think this shows another weakness I thought about the ending was at the end she gives him in the drama a poison soup as his execution kind of, right, to send them off.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
felt like the way they shot that scene, it was almost romantic. It's like they're trying to make him a shippable CP. And I know a lot of people ship him, which I was like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
like you do you, I do me, right? But in the book, right, like there was no doubt she hated his guts.
I think the show treaded a very fine line where I was worried that they're gonna give her Stockholm syndrome. I know it's not called that anymore, but yeah, I thought the ending was kind of weird. Like if it had happened to me, I wouldn't see him off. I would be like, whatever. I don't need to see
Right,
this face ever again. I don't need to be the one to administer the poison. Let someone else do that, you know?
right, right.
So yeah. hmm Any other characters you don't like?
No, it was really just Ximing, and then the protagonist became annoying at the end. So, but they were all right at the beginning. You know, I just hate that I felt bamboozled. I was like, oh, you're hateful little bitches now. But I know I'm gonna get so much hate for spewing so much so-called hate, right, about our protagonists. But that's how I feel. I'm sorry. Like I feel like the show bungled it with that
Mm.
characterization at the end. The other person I'll just talk about quickly is a supposed second male lead, Li Huai'an, which I think again you and I agreed that we're like, wait, was he necessary? Poor guy, it's like a wet rag.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't even think of him as a second male lead. Like, there's so many other actors who like had so much more screen presence and better storylines. I almost felt bad for this actor because like you said, what a thankless role.
Yes, it's very thankless. Don't take these type of roles again, please.
Yeah.
So, anyways, ready for the ratings? I think, unless is there anything else we didn't touch upon, random or otherwise?
No, I think I mean, I want to say that I know you were disillusioned at the end, but I think for me, I still think overall as a production, it was really enjoyable to watch. I actually did rewatch some of the earlier scenes, and I was like, oh, I still like it, even though I know what's gonna happen later. I think they're cemented in my mind that way. So, and I liked I mentioned that they do a lot of Easter eggs. Like some of the fun stuff that I saw from the directors, like there's a scene where the Marquis is dreaming about like these blue and white like fabric ribbon, and he's like, yeah, when you watch it you just think it's a dream, but actually it's like trauma of him seeing his mother get like when she commits suicide, she was hanging. So when the door was open, the first thing he saw was like the hem of her skirt. So there were things that the director did that he like visually that was like that. I think other things that other people picked up on was there was like a really shaky camera angle in the end of the Lin rampage. And a lot of people like did side by side and they found out it was actually the perspective of the magistrate who was hung.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of visual things that they were like, it's really, if you rewatch it, you actually appreciate some of those things. And then, oh, there was this other thing too, like all the plaques in the buildings, because I see them written in the translation on Netflix. And someone had actually compiled all of them, and they said if you actually look at all the plaques, they're like the people who live in those homes or whatever. It's like they're like the opposite. So it's like, oh, these are actually come off very sarcastic. So there's a lot of things that people did in the show on the set and the props, and I thought that was really cute.
Yes, but for me, to me, watching a drama, no matter how good visually or otherwise or interesting of a story, if the main characters who are left standing, I cannot necessarily fully support anymore, right? As
Hmm.
people, that's problematic.
No, I understand. Yeah, you got what you got out of it, and you didn't like what you got out of it.
No, I enjoyed the ride up to a point, and then I was like, oh, knowing where this is headed, and like I said, if everyone just died, I would be like, okay, equal opportunity, right? Fair is fair. Everyone died. It's fair. But
Mm,
no, I knew who was going to survive. I'm like, oh, I don't think that's very fair, given that they're really not that great. Blah. No, anyways.
yeah.
So, anyways, ratings. I guess I will start since I have obviously two different views of this. If you stop the show at like episode 30 something, early 30s,
Hmm.
I would have still given it a 9.0 because I was fine with the Lingan arc, the military camp arc. It was very enjoyable up till a certain point. And then they went to the capital, and like I said, it went to shits for me, characterization wise. And I was like, well, now it's an 8.5.
That's still really good.
It's 8.5, but I don't think I'll ever rewatch the show. Like, there's no
Mm,
warm and fuzzy revisiting even scenes I liked. Does that make sense?
mm,
Because I no longer care for these people. This just brings up like a bad aftertaste.
mm. Yeah, you've been burned. You got burned. So for me, it's a 9.3, which shouldn't be a surprise.
Not shocked because you like your Harlequin romance now.
Which I know you asked me, have you been reading this? Like, I never really read those.
Well, because you're very into it. I think you keep saying in your text, like, oh, I love the devotedness. I'm like, I get that you like the whole, they only have eyes for each other, and that was the trope at the beginning. But when it becomes supporting people unthinkingly, unwavering to me, but it's unthinkingly, then I have a problem with that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think overall, like not just the CP, but just the whole production, I just think
Mm-hmm.
it was beautifully done. I think this director, I hope he could. I mean, I know he's filming right now with Chen Xingshu, right? And
Mm.
Li Tong, is that her name? So
Yes.
hopefully that one will be good. I don't know if that's. I'm assuming that's a novel as well, from a novel. So I have high hopes for that, judging from the success of this, and hopefully they don't bungle the ending of that.
Well, I don't think they bungled the ending. They bungled the characters for me, not
Yeah,
the
that's what I
ending.
mean. Yeah, I hope that whatever they do in that one. I mean, I didn't watch Blossom, so just to put it out there, you did watch it and you thought it was visually nice, but you also had issues with that as a
I got
production.
bored.
So yeah. So for me, I still enjoyed it a lot. I did revisit the beginning. I'm still reading the novel. I actually want to know what happens in the novel, so I'll probably read it, in my spare time. But 9.3 is where I'm landing.
Ah, that's the highest mark I think you've ever given a show.
Was it higher than First Frost? I don't remember what I gave to First Frost. It was like
Oh,
up
I
there.
don't know.
Yeah, I really like that one too. So, switching gears, Boyfriend on Demand. I don't have a whole lot to say. I know last time when we talked about it, and I gave a brief synopsis, and it's only 10 episodes. So I kept watching, and the story was about a girl who enters a VR, I wouldn't say game, but like a platform where she is given the opportunity to date up to 900 men, avatars. They're AI. They're not
Sorry,
real
every
characters.
time you say 900 men, I'm like, oh, sorry. Hey, is Zhang Linghe one of them?
I'm sure one day there'll be someone who'll make a VR like that. We could date all the Cdrama actors that you like. So when the last time we spoke, I got to the part where she started to like, okay, since there's like a 50-hour limit, when she maxes out, she has to pick another guy to date. And then the story continues in terms of her like realizing when the game starts taking off, like people are writing reviews and they're like, oh, I love this scenario, now the best like sweet nothings that this game offers. And she's like, wait a minute, I experienced that or I did that. So she realizes the game, I'm calling it a game, but it's not a game, but the VR experience it's not like random. It's like planned. So every person that enters the VR experiences the same thing with the same avatar. It might not happen in such a linear way, but the famous lines or the sweet nothings that they hear, it's the same. And so she becomes disillusioned and then they're like, well, and she's like, I'm gonna unsubscribe. I don't think I want to play this anymore. And they're like, wait, we have one special feature, which is you create your own custom guy. It's a 901st avatar. And you just have to fill out this deep survey questionnaire and we will make the guy for you. So she's like, okay. So she tries it. So they generate the guy, and the guy happens to look just like her coworker. Remember I said the first 4 episodes, she has like this coworker, but they have zero like romantic interactions. So she's like, oh, this is weird. Like, are you sure you can't change him? They're like, no, you can only do it one time. And so she goes on dates, and then she goes to work, and she's like seeing the same face, and she's getting like confused because she's like, wait, this is just the guy at work, and oh, this is the guy in the VR. Um, so basically the romantic stuff pivots when they reveal that the coworker actually had always had a crush on her, and every time they met, when she just bumped into him, it was deliberate. Like he was like waiting by the elevator for her to come,
He's a
and
stalker.
yeah,
Sorry.
like he was trying to create opportunity to see her, but she was like very indifferent towards him, and so I forget which episode, but he finally like tells her that he likes her, and then so she gives him a chance, but then she's hiding the fact that she has a VR character that looks like him from him because she doesn't want him to think she only went out with him because she liked the VR guy. So anyways, it's very convoluted. And then they start introducing her best friend starts playing the VR. The author that she's working with starts playing with the VR. So they introduced more um, famous Korean actors into this. I think Choi Siwon from Super Junior is one of them. And I was like, it was cute, but I kept watching. I finished it, and no, not that's a spoiler, but it's a happy ending. But I think after a while, I did start feeling like indifferent. I felt like because the VR characters are not real, I was as passive towards them as the female lead, right? Like there's nothing to invest in. And then the coworker, he's cute. I think when they start dating, they're very cute. But it took so long for that to kick in. And then you have a few episodes, and then suddenly there's angst because like he finds out that there's a VR character that looks just like him, and he's in the game and he's trying to like find out information. And you're like, I don't think I care. Like I don't think I care what happens. And I felt bad because I wanted to like, really, really enjoy it and enjoy the VR aspect. And it was a creative idea. Like I said, I think on paper it's more fun than the execution. So in a nutshell, it was fine. It was fine. I wouldn't say it was a waste of time. I would say it was cute up until a point. It's a very fantasy-driven, harmless show. Um, but if I were to give it a rating, it'll be like a 7.2 because it's
Oh.
not, yeah, it's just like no one's really memorable, like it's not like, oh, I go back and like I want to revisit this scene or oh, this is really like romantic. Like it was just like, because it was like slapdash, everything's like a checkbox. Oh, we did this, she did this. and then, oh, this is going to be the scene where they have their emotional scene, and that's it. So, anyways.
It won't be in the highlight of anyone's careers that was in this show.
No, I think it was probably more fun for the producers to like hire all these like actors to play the boyfriends, and I think I actually enjoyed watching her best friend go on dates. Her best friend was treating it like a game. She was like in 1 month dating like 200 guys. And even the game developers like, who is she? Because she was also writing a blog about it and telling people like, this is the best way to date this guy. And then they were like, who is this cat? Who is this person? Like, is she insane? Does she not sleep? Does she like how does she have time to date so many people? And I was like, I wish the main character of the story was like her. Like, because that's exactly how I think someone who plays VR would do it, right? Like, you're not going to treat this like, oh, I'm really here to date and like get to know you. Like, no, you're gonna like, oh, I want to like mess around with the VR and see what I can do. So I thought her storyline was the most compelling, but it was the one that they gave the least amount of screen time.
That's a shame. Missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity, yeah.
So 7.2, would you even recommend anyone who hasn't checked it out go check it out or not?
Like I said, the first episode was hard. Check out the second episode when she actually enters the game. It's not important that she had a bad breakup and all of it. Like, not important at all. Just watch it for the VR segments. It's fun. Watch it for the best friend who goes on all the crazy dates. And then that's it. Like, nothing else. It's cute when she and the guy start dating. His character is very quiet. This actor had so few lines in this show. And I was like, I could see that he like an extreme introvert, like who doesn't talk much. In real life, if you had to date someone, it would be like that. But like, do I want to see that in a drama? No, I don't. I don't want to see a guy who doesn't speak.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I felt bad because he's not a bad actor, but it was just the way his character was written, and you're like, he had no chance of ever dating her until she like saw him in the VR, and then she's like, wait. Otherwise, he was like, she didn't see him. He was invisible to her.
Checking him aside, right? Was there any standout virtual boyfriend in any of the candidates that like paraded through?
That's an interesting question. I don't think so. They were very forgettable. There was one guy, I don't know the actor's name. They focused the most on his character. He had the longest VR segment. And he was like he played the campus heartthrob. But even his character, it started getting eerie, like creepy, because they're designed to say things to make the girl feel good. So even when she's questioning them, right? Like I said, it's like talking to ChatGPT. You're like, well, what about this? And how do you see this? And then everything they say is like designed to be like, oh, whatever makes you happy, or your happiness is the most important. And you're like, oh, this is really unsettling, like uncanny valley kind of thing. So yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, it's probably deliberate, right? Like you're supposed to feel like this is synthetic and not like real, so you shouldn't fall for them for real. So yeah, I wouldn't say anyone was completely memorable. I know they try to do like I said, the special guest with Tracy Wong, but I don't know. I thought he was kind of creepy. He's a little greasy. He's a little greasy for my taste. So it's like, oh no. And I knew he was probably like the biggest name that they got to play the boyfriends. So
that is not the effect you're going for usually with these. So that's unfortunate. But
yeah.
Well, thank you for, troopering through the whole show.
Thank you for trooping through Pursuit of Jade.
Well, it wasn't trooping. It was just like I was fighting my, my annoyance at the last few episodes. I was like, No, I would recommend people to watch it. It's a great show if you haven't, but I feel like the whole world's watching it anyway, so I don't think my recommendation or not is gonna make a difference. That said, I just think they should be warned if you're anywhere like anywhere. If you're programmed like me and you need consistency and you need to have a reason to like your protagonists, you may get disappointed towards the end. All right, I think we can wrap now. I think this has now gone way too long. Way too long. All right. Okay. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.